Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is about 5 a.m. my time. I don't know why I didn't think beforehand to, I don't know, throw a sun on the screen and make it like morning themed. But we didn't. And we're here now. Like I said, it's about 5 a.m. my time, so very early morning stream. I was just kind of thinking, it's been a while since we've done a morning stream, so why not? The morning streams are always awesome, so let's have one. A lot of faces that we don't get to see unless we do morning streams. So, speaking of which, we've got Mint first in chat. We don't get to see Mint a whole lot. We don't get to see quite a few people a whole lot unless we do morning streams. So we are here, gonna do a stream at 5 a.m. bright and early. Kay says I'm first. You were so close. You were so desperate to get that first that you even had a misspelling, but still just couldn't quite get it. Mint is gonna beat you to it on that one. Um, so, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about take away the power from anxiety. We're going to be talking about that cycle, and we're going to be talking about how your brain learns and how you take that power away. So hopefully a good stream to get your day started. Hopefully you take it to heart and use it. Most importantly, use it, right? Kay's laughing in the chat. He knows. He, she, whichever knows. They had a spelling error. They were trying to get that first so quickly. I'm sitting here in front of the TV eating breakfast. What are you having for breakfast, Mint? I just had a bowl of cereal. Pretty tasty. It's 2 a.m. for me. Hello, Purple. 2 a.m. for you. It's about 5 till 5 for me. So bright and early. We'll see how this goes. So take away the power from anxiety. That is our topic today. That is our subject. We're not going to wait around. We might as well just jump right into it. Morning streams are always like 50-50. Sometimes we have a big turnout, sometimes we don't. So we're not going to wait around to find out. We're just going to jump right into it this morning and get to it. So take away the power from anxiety. Now, I've gotten to a habit recently of starting my streams with an opening statement about a mistake that people make, and then we lead into the point of the stream. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. So the mistake that people tend to make when it comes to taking away the power from anxiety is that they really crave that reassurance, they really crave that resolve, they really crave that problem solving, control freaks, so to speak. And I'm allowed to say that because I used to be the biggest control freak. So that's the biggest mistake. People are not taking away the power from anxiety, and the reason they're not taking power away from anxiety is because they want the resolve. They want the answer. They want the problem solving, right? It's much more, in most people's minds, it's much more reasonable to say, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, right, so to speak. That seems like the reasonable, rational approach, right? However, when we're dealing with anxiety, that approach just does not work. It does not work because any sort of problem solving, figuring out, fighting with, worrying about, arguing with, right, the list goes on, is giving power to the disorder. Right, and that's why, on one hand, I completely understand that it seems reasonable for you to want to problem solve this, and it seems reasonable that when you have an intrusive thought that you want to figure it out. Like, all this seems reasonable and logical, and I understand that, and that's where we've all have made our biggest mistakes with this thing. So I get that, right? I understand that, but at the same time, again, when you do those things, you're giving power to the quote-unquote disorder. And when you give power to the quote-unquote disorder, you just tend to cycle. People get stuck in a cycle. So the more problem solving you do, the more you have to do. The more figuring out you do, the more you have to do, because the whole time you're just powering the anxiety. So it is a cycle. It is like going in a circle. I want to feel better, but at the same time, I need to figure it out. That seems logical, so I'm going to argue with every thought, and then what happens is you're giving power to the anxiety. The anxiety comes back with more thoughts, and, because you are giving it power, and people get stuck running in these endless circles. Round and round we go, right? So to take the power away from anxiety means that when these irrelevant, intrusive thoughts come, even though they come very swiftly and intensely and alarming at times, you have to say, be there if you will. You have to say, okay. You have to say, you know what? I'll handle it, but I'm not going to fight with it. I'm just going to let it be, right? You have to kind of shrug your shoulders at it. And that makes people uncomfortable, rightfully so, because that means that you then have to accept uncertainty, and you then have to accept some anxiety, or maybe even a lot of anxiety that comes with these thoughts. So it makes people, like I said, rightfully so, a little bit uncomfortable. A little bit uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable. Let's just put it bluntly, a lot uncomfortable. So it's understandable that people want to try to use their logic against anxiety, but it just doesn't work. The anxiety isn't buying it, and it just gives it power. So the only way to really take power away from anxiety is to say, okay, that thought's there, okay, right? Like, end of story, just okay. That feeling's there, okay, end of story, just okay. Right, and just to carry on living. Now that is the two main keys right there, to have just that accepting inner voice and to carry on living. So the accepting inner voice, when I say that, it is not a voice of obsession. It is not a voice of rumination. It is not a voice of trying to solve anything. The accepting inner voice is a voice of just simply okay, really, what it comes down to at the end of the day. Just some sort of short, sweet okay. This takes the power away, the compulsive power away from the thoughts and feelings of anxiety, because these things, when we're talking about intrusive thoughts and we're talking about symptoms, these things cannot survive, live, and thrive without your power. And to give them your power means to do things like ruminate, try to figure out, solve, fight off, reassurance, things like that. So again, anxiety cannot survive, and it cannot consume your life, right? It can't take over your life unless it has the power to do so. And where does it get its power from? A lot of people falsely assume that anxiety just comes with all this power. It's just naturally has all this power. That's not true. Anxiety gets its power directly from you. You are the source of its power. These thoughts, these symptoms, physical symptoms, the source of the power for all of these different things does not come from some outside source. It comes from you. You are the battery. You are what plugs into these thoughts and plugs into these feelings and feeds them with battery, feeds them with charge, right? And we don't tend to look at it that way. And you really should start. You really should start, because again, these things are completely powerless. They do tend to come in, especially if you've got tired nerves, and they cause a little bit of commotion, and it's unpleasant and it's uncomfortable, sure. But at the end of the day, that's like 5% of its battery life. The other 95% of that battery life is hooked up to you. It's hooked into you. So you have to understand that you are the source of anxiety's power. And if you don't want anxiety to have its power, and when I say anxiety, I'm generally speaking about everything that comes with it, the physical symptoms, the intrusive thoughts, so forth and so on. So if you don't want anxiety to have that power, you got to stop serving as the battery pack, right? When you do things like problem solve, argue, try to get around, and the reassurance and so forth and so on, when you do things like that, you are directly powering, right? You are directly powering these thoughts. Perp says, is it awesome that I watched a YouTube channel on OCD that gave me the same bit of advice? Yeah, great advice, man. And it's starting to become more and more popular, right? We're starting to see an increase in things like acceptance and response prevention, which, don't get confused, they're the same thing, to not give in to compulsions. And there is such a thing as mental compulsions, trying to figure out, problem solve, worry, fight. That's all mental compulsions. Yeah, you're definitely starting to see an increase in things like acceptance and response prevention. Because of this point that I'm making here this morning. The point being that you are the battery pack for anxiety. That's just an analogy, one way to put it. So what happens is people juice up their anxiety, physical symptoms, they worry about them, they fight with them mentally. Intrusive thoughts, they worry about them, they fight with them mentally. They get the reassurance, and all that is doing, all that's accomplishing, even though I know short term it feels like you're getting some relief, all you're really doing, though, is giving power to the disorder, right? Giving power to the anxiety, to the intrusive thoughts, whatever the case may be. So you really are the source of the power for the anxiety. And knowing that you are the source of anxiety's power, that means you have the ability, right? If you're willing to practice this, you have the ability to take that power away. You can give it, you can take it away, right? You're spending so much energy giving the power. We need to put the same amount of energy into taking it away, which then comes, of course, everyone's big question: how do you do that? It's just a matter of allowing these thoughts and feelings with an attitude of okay, right? Just okay. Now, you can get a little creative with it if you wish. You can get aggressive with it. You can say, okay, if that bad thing happens, so be it. You can, you can get a little creative with it, but don't fall into obsession. Don't fall into rumination. Keep your responses short, sweet, and simple. That's something we've always come back to here on the channel. The reason I tell people to keep their responses short, sweet, and simple is because I don't want you to fall into the obsession, into the giving power. I don't want you to give these things power. I want you to do the opposite. So keep it short, sweet, and simple, just okay, right? Accepting little reminders, whatever. But keep it short, sweet, and simple because, again, your objective, your goal is to take the power away. Take the power away. So if you, came to me and you told me, Wonder Bro, I'm practicing and accepting inner voice, and your accepting inner voice was you for 15, 20 minutes in your head fighting and arguing with the thoughts, well, that's not an accepting inner voice at all, right? That is still giving power to the thoughts and the feelings. And again, you are the source of power for anxiety. You give it, you can take it away. But your accepting inner voice needs to be short, sweet, and simple. It needs to be, it needs to take the power away and not give it. If it's giving power to, because it goes on for 5, 10, 15 minutes, every time a thought comes, you're in your head for 30 minutes, thinking that you're using an accepting inner voice, well, you're still just giving power to. Keep it short, sweet, and simple. So thought pops up and you say, you know what, screw it. You know what, whatever. You know what, okay, right? Keep it short, sweet, and simple. That's the best approach, really, because again, it's all about taking the power away. And the more you argue with these thoughts and fight with these thoughts and just have these big, long, drawn-out conversations with them in your head. How many, show of hands, raise of hands, everybody raise their hands in chat who can say that they've done that. They've had these big, long, drawn-out conversations in their head with their thoughts, right? And that turns into, all that nasty stuff like rumination, obsession, worry, which again is the power that you are giving to the anxiety. So keep it short, sweet, and simple, right? You are the main source of anxiety's power. You are the reason that anxiety thrives. You are the reason that these thoughts become important. You are the reason that these intrusive thoughts and feelings and symptoms become important. And it's all about your reaction. Your reaction is the power exchange. Your reaction is you giving, up in your head, mentally having this big, long, drawn-out conversation with yourself. You are giving this thing, this anxiety, your power. So it's very much a power exchange. Now, again, when you first start with this practice, let's say, okay, I watched this stream, this guy's got a point, I'm going to give this a go. When you first start this practice, here's something to expect. As you're allowing these thoughts and feelings with just a simple okay, if that's what you choose, right? Don't expect like instant, I'm going to be on top of the world. Don't expect that the thoughts are just instantly going to disappear and never come back ever again, right? Don't expect all of these irrational things. Remember that they'll probably reoccur. Remember that you probably won't feel on top of the world. And remember that that's okay, because acceptance can bring rather quick relief as you're taking power away from anxiety. But that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be 110% right away. Like, you can get some pretty quick relief, and, all that's great. But again, it doesn't mean that you'll be on top of the world right away. So that was really my point of today's stream, guys. Take the power away from the anxiety. You don't have to continuously give your power to this thing. It doesn't deserve it. It didn't earn it. So stop giving it to it. And with that being said, I think that's all I want to say for this morning. Just a little quick sort of reminder stream. We are going to hang out on post stream and talk to you guys for a bit. So let's, I was going to say let's switch over there, but we're already on there. It's nice and dark in here. But yeah, let's get into post stream. I'm going to grab some music. We'll get some music going. And I'm also going to grab a glass of water for this post stream because my throat is like being dry today. So I'm going to grab that glass of water. I'm going to turn on some music. Let's hang out with chat. If you guys got questions, go ahead and ask them. I will do my best to answer them as soon as I get back. 2 seconds. Okay, hello, beautiful people. I have returned. Hopefully, we didn't kill the stream too bad with that interruption. But hello, hello. We did get a $10 tip just now from Mint. Mint, thank you so much for the $10 tip. I really appreciate you. Show her some love in the chat, guys. Let's see here. What comments we got? We got AP in the house. What's up, AP? How you doing? Also, we got a tip note with the tip that I didn't notice until just now. It says, got to remind ourselves over and over again that we are actually the one who's providing the fuel. Great one. Yes. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I think the reason people don't do that, right? Like, I think the reason that's not a thing is because people, rightfully so, before they know any better, people kind of assume that if you have an intrusive thought or if you have some sort of anxiety, that the logical thing to do would be to figure it out, right? Like, that just sounds, if you told me that before I had this anxiety knowledge, if you told me that, I would say, yeah, that sounds about right. If you've got anxiety, this thing called anxiety, and you got a thought that you don't necessarily like, you should definitely probably figure that out and solve that, right? And so it's understandable that that's people's sort of go-to before they truly understand acceptance and before they truly understand the cycle. It's also understandable that that's people's go-to even after they learn about the cycle, because it's a habit, right? It starts as misinformation, and then it becomes a habit. So it starts as misinformation. How do I handle this anxiety? I don't know. Logical thing sounds to argue with it, to figure it out, to try to solve it. That seems logical to me, right? So it starts with misinformation, and then it leads to a habit, and now we've got to break that habit. And that's really what it comes down to. You practice accepting these sort of difficult emotions and feelings, and not giving the power to these emotions, feelings, and thoughts, right? That's really what this whole shindig sort of comes down to at the end of the day, is that it's a power exchange, and you've got to take that power away. Let's see. That this will pass, as well as a reminder that I can leave the anxiety alone, has been helpful advice for me. Yeah, anything that's really short, sweet, and direct, to just kind of ground yourself and remind yourself, don't give this thing power. Like, don't argue with that thought. Don't give that thought more attention than it deserves. Don't give that symptom more attention than it deserves. Like, it is what it is. And if telling yourself, hey, just accept it, it'll pass in its own time, if that's enough to help you shrug these things off, right? And I know that sounds casual, like, yeah, right, Wonder Bro, just shrug it off. But you get my point. If telling yourself something like that helps you just kind of get into that shrug off stage, right, then do that. If telling yourself that you can leave it alone is enough for you to then actually leave it alone, then do that, right? We call those accepting reminders, and they're needed sometimes, right? And you don't always need them. You might eventually get to the point where you're just naturally kind of like, whatever thoughts come, okay, whatever feelings come, okay, no more giving my power away, right? You might naturally come to that point, so, and that's okay too, right? If you need the reminders, though, go for it. Wonder Bro's gone out for cigarettes and never came back. I am back. Hello. Exactly. It feels logical to figure it out, solve the problem, take responsibility. Yeah. But the anxiety mechanism is counterintuitive. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. It seems logical, and that's why I say it starts with a misinformation and then leads to a bad habit, and that's really all that is. I just realized that we didn't get any music going. How dare us? How dare us, chat? Let's see. Let's do that. We should do that. We need some music to get the morning started. Try to pick something different than what we're used to. Mix it up a little bit, right? Mix it up a little bit. Beautiful. Good vibes this morning. Good vibes, chat. Good vibes. Hello, Mohammed. How are you doing? I'm on the ball today. I'm pronouncing names right. I think I am. Life's good. Wonder Bro, your topic about thoughts versus thinking was exceptional. Could you please make a video in the future about addiction, habit, procrastination, and importantly, about living courageously? Those are some big, big topics. You know what? I will make a mental note of that. I'm always in the market for topics that you guys want to hear me speak about. So yeah, I will jot that down in my mental notepad and keep that in mind. Those are some good topics. Which really, I'll say the topic you mentioned of habit is pretty much covered in the streams that we already have, right? Like this is basically what we're doing here. That's our main objective, is to break that habit. So you're working on one of your biggest habits already. What is your sleep schedule like now? It's awful. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. No, just kidding. It's awful. I'm back to being a night owl as I normally am. Like nothing out of the norm, right? I've been looking for that music playlist we had a while ago that was so cool and happy, but it's like looking for an invisible needle in the hay. Mint, there is a possibility that it got removed or taken down. Some of the playlists that I used to play on stream, I can't find either. So I suppose that is a possibility. Could have been removed or taken down. Don't you always use videos, Wonderbird? Or do you sometimes put on literal YouTube playlists with different songs? So what I do is I just go to the search engine and type in copyright-free music. And normally there's videos that are uploaded that are like an hour long that just have a bunch of music in it. And I'll just pick one of those out of the results. What time do you normally go to sleep? It varies. It varies. Usually around, well, here recently, the past few days or so, it's been like around noon, so quite literally sleep all day. And then I work through the night and I do things through the night, so that's how it's been for the past little while anyway. It changes. It changes all the time. We get on a good sleep schedule and then we never stay on it. That's normally what happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. I bet he doesn't even sleep. You caught me, Ghost. Ghost caught me, finally. This music is nice and chill, though. Yeah, so this is Blockbuster. That's the title of this one. Blockbuster Lo-Fi Hip Hop and Chill Hop Mix 2020. We're sounding like a radio host today. Good morning out there, and welcome. We're going to get into some tunes. Fine Wonder Bro, God bless you, and our community weekly. 3 days I get stuck in doing the same thing again and again. I can't come out of that. You can. It just takes work. It takes practice. I know these habits are strong. I get that, right? Like, this is not a walk in the park, but at the same time, it's definitely not impossible. It's not even near impossible. You're very much capable. You just got to come back to the basics. You got to keep coming back to what you've learned here on the channel, and you got to keep applying it. Some days it's going to be easier to apply than others. That's to be expected, right? Like some days you're just not quite on the ball, and that's normal. That's normal, but give it a try anyway. Try, and try again. Practice that acceptance, practice that embracing, not giving your power to these thoughts and feelings. That's what it'll always come down to, and as long as you practice that, I didn't say be perfect at that. I said as long as you practice that, then we're on the right track, and that's what matters, right? That's the only thing that matters. Just super chill. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. It's been a chill night / morning so far. I think it's been pretty chill. Pretty chill. What you give power to has power over you, so don't do it, 'cause it's not worth it. From Thursday to Saturday, I got stuck in a behavior, and from Sunday, I am free of this loop. Good job. You got yourself out a lot quicker than you probably would have in the past, and we call that progress. We call that progress, and that's what we're aiming for, right? That's what we're shooting for. We're going for progress. We're not going for perfection or any of these unreasonable expectations. We're going for progress. And some days, right, you mess up. Some days you give a thought a little bit too much power. Some days you give an intrusive thought a little bit too much of your fight. Some days you give a symptom a little bit too much, right, of your attention, and when I say attention, I mean your fight, right? Some days that happens, and guess what? That's okay. It is perfectly okay. As long as you get back to the basics, as long as you keep coming back to it, we'll keep making steps in the right direction. One of my favorite reminders recently is leave it unresolved. I like that. I'm going to steal that and start telling people that. I'm telling you, that actually might be a stream in the future. Leave it unresolved. What better way to remind yourself that that's your objective, right? That's your goal. And really, recovery is about remembering the goal. In those moments, you must remember the goal. I mean, that's really what recovery is. When you lose sight of the goal and you start trying to resolve, then you start giving power away, which is really, the point of this stream. So I like that. That is a nice reminder. Remind yourself of the objective. We've never really put it that way before. Your reminder doesn't have to necessarily be whatever, okay, aggressive, whatever. It could simply be a reminder of the goal. Leave it unresolved. And that's a big one, right? That's a big one. That's really what the entire goal is. Leave it unresolved. We have an ad. I caught it in like a split second. Let's wait for this ad to pass. There we go. Back to the music. A lot of people say, Wonder Bro, why don't you install ad block like everybody else on the planet? And I say, I do YouTube myself, so I can't bring myself to do it. It would make my life a lot easier, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Just can't bring myself to do it. Thanks, Purple Metal. 75. My life changed dramatically last 3 years due to Wonder Bros video. I am 60% recovered, no more panic attacks, but sensitized. So some people falsely assume that you can't have tired nerves unless you experience panic attacks, which is just not true. You can have tired nerves, and you can have things like anxiety symptoms, or if you want to call it OCD symptoms, whatever. You can experience that sort of stuff without panic attacks. Like, they don't have to necessarily go together. Yeah, that's the thing about the ad block, man. It's like, I do YouTube, so putting ad block on and knowing that I'm taking revenue away from other creators, it's like, oh man, I don't know. I'll just wait the 5 seconds. Forget about it. I'll just wait the 5 seconds. I don't want that moral issue. Leaving it unresolved feels almost painful. Feels like turning my back against a hungry alligator. I guess in your mind's eyes, that's what you're doing, right? Because your mind thinks all these things are super important and dangerous, and so it's kind of like turning your back against an alligator in your mind's eyes, which is why it feels uncomfortable. But let's reason with that a bit. If you notice, trying to resolve every thought that pops into your head is even more, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say even more painful in the long run than turning your back to it and using acceptance, right? I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say it's even more painful than doing it the right way with acceptance. I truly believe that, especially if we're talking long term. In the long term, it's far more painful. Far more painful. That shit stings. Trying to resolve every single thought. It's just really miserable, right? Let's be honest. It's really miserable to have to live that way, because if you notice, your mind just always coming up with a loophole, always coming up with something else to lock onto. you solve one just to get another, and it's just like a never-ending, like, drag, man. It's a drag. And so yeah, I'm gonna say that it's even more painful to try to resolve every thought than to not to. Especially if we're speaking long term, right? And we're talking about healing and, feeling better. I think a good way to look at that is you'll have some, like, uncomfortable moments, and that's saying the least, right? You'll have some uncomfortable moments when you start turning your back to it, as the way you put it, and using acceptance. Like, that in itself is going to be an uncomfortable process sometimes. But it's like that short-term discomfort for that long-term gain sort of thing. So really, in the end, you're going through way less discomfort doing it the right way than you are if you just continue to live that way, right? Does that make sense? So there's your motivation. There's your reason to do it, even though it's not like a super joyous thing to do. There's your reason to do it anyway. Bum bum ba bum. Yesterday I thought about my anxiety like a 6-year-old kid with a bunch of pots and pans. Honestly, I that's a super good analogy. The best thing you do is shut the kitchen door and turn your back on the kid. Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, you probably shouldn't let your child run around with pots and pans. But I understand that it's an analogy, and actually, it's an amazing analogy. Sometimes I call it a screaming toddler. Now, if you've got a screaming toddler, it's probably best if they're throwing a fit not to get in their face and throw one back, right? Probably best to pick your battles wisely. Pick your battles wisely. You got a screaming toddler who's crying over literally nothing. Let's assume that nothing's wrong, and they're just crying over literally nothing, trying to get your attention. That's what they want. They want your attention. If you get down in their little annoying face and you start screaming back, you're probably just going to make the situation way worse, and that kid is going to get even more upset. That kid's going to get even more upset. So your analogy sounds a lot like the one that I normally use, which is the screaming toddler, right? You just spiced it up a little bit with the pots and pans, which I like. Get creative, right? But yeah, same concept. You would never, if a kid is perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing going on. It's just normal day in the house. And you get down in his face and you're like, why the fuck are you crying? That's not a good game plan. You're probably going to make the situation far more aggressive. So it's best to just let it throw its little fit. The thoughts are throwing their little fit. Hey, this is important. Hey, worry about this. And here's the physical symptoms. Hey, worry about this. Let it throw its little fit. Right? We got an ad. Let it throw its little fit. And don't get down in its face. Don't get on its level. Just let it happen. It'll shut up eventually. It will shut up eventually. I get what Mint's saying, and I get what Purple's saying too. Mint said you could take away the pots and pans. Purple said that would make my analogy, that'd make the anxiety analogy worse. I get what you're both trying to say, but it's the same concept, right? We're all talking about the same thing here. Just not fighting with it. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Whatever you want to tell yourself is fine, right? Pots and pans, or screaming toddler, or leave it unresolved, or whatever you want to tell yourself. I mean, it's all the same concept at the end of the day. Leave it unresolved. I'm gonna actually. I might take a screenshot of that because I want to do an entire stream on that. That's a good one. I mean, I'm sure out of the catalog of hundreds and hundreds of streams that I've done, we've probably said that at some point, but maybe not. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever put it that way, and I like that. I meant taking away the fuel. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we haven't used. Have we stumbled across something new that we've actually not used in the 6 years we've been doing this? Maybe we have. Holy crap. Leave it unresolved. That's what you're doing. I mean, that's really what you're doing. We might be cutting this morning stream. By the way, a little bit short today. I'm not really worried about Typical this morning because like I said, I do think I need to bounce a little bit earlier than usual, and you guys know I don't hold that against you on Typical. It's my fault that I have to get out of here a little quicker today, so we're not worried about Typical today. I really just wanted to come on here and do this quick little stream. I felt motivated to do it because seeing way too many people still give power to anxiety, right? And I hate to see it. I am Mr. Fuck Anxiety. So when I feel motivated, to get on here and do it, I do it. But I am running a little bit behind this morning, so we're going to get out of here in just a little bit. So don't worry about the Typical today. 167 day Typical. Yes, we are on 167 days, which is just absolutely crazy and mind-boggling, and I'm so thankful for that. You guys are truly awesome, and that's why I like to try to do little things like, hey, you know, we can't do a full stream. That's fine. We can jump on and we can do a morning stream and hopefully start everyone's day out on the right path. You know, and I try to do the YouTube shorts to stay in close contact with you guys. I try to make, you know, I try to give you your money's worth, right? You guys support me and help me carry on doing the streams. This is my full-time occupation. And I very aware of that, and I'm so thankful for it. 167 day streak, just insane, like insane. So I try to give you your money's worth. I try to, you know, help you guys out the best that I possibly can. First stream I've made it to. What's up, Snake? How you doing, dude? Welcome. I was just telling chat that we might bounce out of here a little bit early today. So we'll get on out of everyone's hair in just a second. If anybody's got any final remarks, comments, or questions, hit me with them. I'll give you guys at least a minute or two to ask any questions. I don't want to leave that quickly. And thank you so much again, Mint, for your tip. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing good, Snake. Hope you're doing good, Sky. Everybody. Yes, thank you, Mint. Even though this is a shorter one today, guys, please leave a like if you did enjoy it. We are growing every single day. I really want to reach that 11K mark. And I can't do that unless we interact with the channel, right? So get those likes up, comments, shares. You know, we need to reach more people. I feel like there's a ton more people that are out there that could use this advice. And let's get to them, right? Let's reach them. And we can only do that if we grow. So leave those likes, those shares, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. Love you guys so much. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up here. I don't think we've got any more questions to answer. So quick little morning stream just to hopefully get everybody's morning started off on the right foot. So I love you guys. And that's going to be it for today's stream, for the morning stream. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, as always, stay awesome. Instant Mint. Wonder Bros, save this music. It is nice. Blockbuster. Try to help me remember that, Mint. This playlist is called Blockbuster. So there we go. I love you guys. Stay awesome.